They told you being good would protect you, that kindness would be rewarded, that honesty would make you respected, but no one warned you about the cost. Because in a world driven by power, perception, and advantage, being too good doesn't make you admired, it makes you useful. And what is useful is often exploited. Good people reveal themselves too early, and that is where the damage begins. They speak before silence has done its work. They explain themselves as if clarity will protect them. They show their intentions openly, believing transparency creates trust. But human nature does not reward exposure. It studies it. The moment your motives are visible, you surrender leverage. When others know what you want, what you fear, and what you will tolerate, they gain an invisible advantage over you. Not because they are evil, but because people instinctively move toward what benefits them. Openness feels moral, but it is also informative. Every unnecessary explanation gives away position. Every quick forgiveness teaches others how far they can go. Every emotional reaction becomes data, and data in the wrong hands is power. Those who understand people do not rush to reveal themselves. They observe first, they let others speak. They allow patterns to emerge, because patterns expose character far more accurately than words ever would. Predictability is comforting to the one who possesses it, but irresistible to the one who exploits it. When you are always understanding, you become easy to push. When you are always available, you become easy to interrupt. When your reactions are consistent, you become easy to manipulate, not with force, but with timing, not with cruelty, but with pressure, applied at the right moment. The good person rarely notices this happening because it is subtle. It hides behind smiles, apologies, and rational excuses. Empathy, when unguarded, becomes a liability. It causes you to see the best in people who are busy seeing how far they can go. You begin to justify behavior that should have been challenged. You explain away disrespect as stress, manipulation as misunderstanding, and selfishness as weakness. Meanwhile, the other side is learning exactly how to approach you next time. What tone works, what story convinces you, what guilt keeps you compliant. There is a dangerous belief that sincerity disarms others. In reality, sincerity disarms only you. Those who intend to take advantage are not confused by honesty. They are guided by it. Your moral consistency becomes a rule book. Your desire to be fair becomes a lever. And because you don't want to appear harsh, you hesitate to pull away when your instincts tell you to. That hesitation is the opening. Strength is not loud, and it is not cruel. Strength is restraint. It is knowing when not to speak, when not to explain, when not to forgive immediately. Mystery creates respect because it removes certainty. Uncertainty forces others to tread carefully. When people cannot predict your response, they treat you with more caution, not fear, awareness. Being good does not require being exposed. Values do not need constant proof. The most controlled individuals understand this. They keep their intentions private, their emotions regulated, and their boundaries firm. They are not cold, but they are selective. Because in a world that quietly tests limits, the one who reveals everything first is not seen as noble, only available. Being good does not automatically earn respect. In fact, without boundaries, it often invites the opposite. Respect is not created by how much you give, but by what you are willing to withhold. When you constantly say yes, people stop seeing your agreement as generosity and start seeing it as obligation. The mind quickly adjusts to what is always available. What once felt valuable becomes expected, and what is expected is rarely appreciated. Conflict avoidance is one of the most expensive habits a good person develops. It feels peaceful on the surface, but beneath it lies a quiet surrender. Every time you choose silence to keep the atmosphere calm, you teach others that discomfort will never come from crossing you. Over time, this creates a dangerous dynamic. People no longer ask for permission. They assume access has. They do not consider your limits because you have trained them to believe limits do not exist. Respect is born where consequences are clear. Not loud consequences, not dramatic ones, but consistent ones. When actions meet resistance, behavior adjusts. When they do not, behavior escalates. This is not cruelty. It is conditioning. The human mind is constantly learning what it can and cannot do. If crossing you costs nothing, it will be repeated. If crossing you creates distance, tension, or loss of access, it will be reconsidered. Many good people mistake politeness for strength. They believe being agreeable makes them likable, and being likable makes them safe. But likability without firmness creates imbalance. You become the easy option, the convenient option, the one who will adapt while others remain unchanged. Over time, this erodes your presence. People stop taking your words seriously because they have never seen you enforce them. Silence, when used correctly, carries more authority than explanation. The moment you begin defending your boundaries, you weaken them. Justification signals doubt. Confidence does not argue, it decides. Those who command respect do not over-communicate their standards. They simply remove themselves when those standards are violated. Absence is often the loudest message you can send. Distance is misunderstood as coldness, but it is actually clarity. It reminds others that access to you is not automatic, that your time, energy, and attention are not infinite resources. When you step back instead of bending, people recalibrate. They begin to notice what they risk losing, and what can be lost is suddenly valued. Goodness without the willingness to disappoint is not goodness. It is fear disguised as morality, fear of being judged, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being alone, but those fears quietly place others above you. And when people sense that you will always choose harmony over self-respect, they unconsciously lose respect for you. True respect is not demanded. It is structured. It grows in environments where boundaries are felt, not explained, where words align with action. Kindness exists, but only within limits, because the moment people realize you can walk away, that you do not need their approval, that you are comfortable with tension, everything changes. Your presence becomes heavier, your words carry weight, and your goodness is no longer mistaken for weakness. Good people often believe that endurance is a virtue. They are taught that patience proves character, that tolerance reflects wisdom, and that absorbing discomfort keeps relationships intact. Over time, this belief turns into a quiet pattern of self-sacrifice. They give up their voice to preserve peace. They accept unfairness to avoid confrontation. They convince themselves that holding back is strength, when in reality, it is slow erosion. Every time you remain silent in the face of disrespect, you send a message, first to others, and then to yourself. To others, it says that your boundaries are flexible. To yourself, it says that your needs are secondary. This repetition reshapes your identity. You become someone who adapts, not someone who decides. And once that identity settles, people treat it as permanent. There is a hidden danger in always choosing harmony. It teaches others that the emotional cost will always be paid by you. You absorb tension so others don't have to. You carry discomfort so the situation stays smooth. But comfort is addictive. When people grow used to you managing the emotional burden, they stop managing themselves. They rely on your silence, your understanding, your willingness to endure. The moment you try to reclaim your ground, they react as if you are the problem. Sacrifice without strategy creates entitlement. The more you tolerate, the more is expected. What once felt like generosity becomes obligation. And when you finally resist, it is no longer seen as self-respect. It is seen as betrayal. This is the trap of uncalculated goodness. You are punished not for being wrong, but for changing the role you were assigned. Patience is powerful only when it is chosen, not when it is forced by fear. You stay quiet because you are afraid of conflict, rejection, or loss. Your patience is not strength, it is avoidance, and avoidance compounds. Each moment you delay asserting yourself makes the future confrontation heavier, more uncomfortable, more explosive. This is why suppressed boundaries eventually turn into resentment. What is not expressed does not disappear, it hardens. Those who understand power know when to endure and when to interrupt a pattern. They do not sacrifice themselves for stability that only benefits others. They recognize that peace built on imbalance is temporary. It survives only as long as one person keeps paying the price. Self-respect begins the moment you decide that your discomfort matters. That fairness is not something you wait for, it is something you enforce. This does not require aggression or cruelty. It requires clarity, a calm refusal, a firm decision, a willingness to let things become uncomfortable if that discomfort restores balance. The most revealing moment in any relationship is not when you give, but when you stop giving. Watch who becomes confused. Watch who becomes angry. Watch who suddenly accuses you of changing. That reaction exposes how much of your value came from what you endured rather than who you were. Sacrifice can be noble, but only when it is mutual. When it is one-sided, it is not virtue, it is self-erasure. And the moment you realize this, you gain back something far more valuable than approval: control over your own position. The most powerful illusion good people carry is the belief that morality alone creates safety. If intentions are pure, outcomes will be fair. This belief feels comforting because it promises order in a world that often has none. But the world does not respond to intentions, it responds to behavior. It watches what you allow, what you challenge, and what you walk away from. And based on that, it decides how to treat you. People are not moved by virtue as much as they are guided by incentives. They adjust their behavior according to consequences, not character. When you rely solely on goodness, you remove friction. You make it easy for others to take more than they give. Not because they are malicious, but because human nature follows the path of least resistance. What is freely given is rarely protected. The illusion deepens when good people confuse trust with exposure. They believe showing everything builds connection. In reality, connection grows through consistency, not full access. Mystery is not deception, it is protection. When everything about you is available, there is nothing left to respect. Boundaries create shape, and shape creates presence. Without them, you become background. Those who move through the world effectively understand when to reveal warmth and when to withhold it. They do not perform goodness for validation. They apply it with intention. They observe first, speak second, and act last. This order keeps them grounded, prevents emotional decisions from becoming strategic losses. Control is often misunderstood as dominance, but true control is internal. It is emotional regulation under pressure. It is the ability to remain calm when tested, silent when provoked, and decisive when necessary. People instinctively respect those who cannot be rushed, guilted, or pulled into reactions. Stability creates gravity. Unpredictability, when grounded in discipline, creates caution. The world tests softness before it respects strength. It pushes gently at first, then harder if nothing resists. This is not cruelty, it is calibration. When you respond with firmness instead of explanation, the testing stops. When you respond with endless patience, it continues. The lesson is simple but uncomfortable. How you are treated is closely linked to what you tolerate. Goodness becomes powerful only when it is paired with discernment. Kindness without limits drains you. Kindness with structure protects you. There is a difference between being compassionate and being accessible. Access should be earned, not assumed. Not everyone deserves your emotional availability, your time, or your trust. The most grounded individuals do not abandon their values to survive. They sharpen them. They choose when to be generous and when to be distant. They understand that fairness is not something the world hands out. It is something you maintain through boundaries. When you let go of the illusion that being good is enough, you do not become bitter. You become awake. You stop offering yourself as proof of morality and start moving with intention. And in doing so, you discover a quieter truth. The world does not reward purity. It respects control. Being good is not the problem. Being unarmed is. You don't need to lose your values. You need to protect them. Kindness should be selective. Trust should be earned. Access should be limited. Because in a world that studies weakness, the most dangerous person is the one who appears gentle but understands power and chooses when to use it.